Welcome back to basics. So this week we're going to take the shuttles from last week and we're actually going to do something with them. Let's go. Welcome back. So you join us as we launch, I believe I've called this the Pilgrim I. It is going to be launching up into orbit around Kerbin, and it has a payload that actually matters this time. You can see we've got Jebediah flying it. He is the only man to fly our shuttles because we don't trust anybody else, and mainly he's probably the craziest person, and he's happy to do it. So it's a normal shuttle ascent. I'm hoping that I've got a little bit more of a handle on this after our little test flight last episode. You can see the shuttle flies pretty well through the lower atmosphere. We get a bit of sort of heating build-up, we get rid of the solid fuel boosters, and it continues on quite nicely. As the fuel goes down, it does get instabilities, and it's something I think if I was redesigning it, I'd probably actually put the orbiter on a slight angle instead of parallel to the main fuel tank. We throttle down a little bit, and that gives us the opportunity to let ourselves go up in the orbit before we can actually try and circularize or do orbital insertion. Now, importantly, we still have our fuel tank. Last time we actually got rid of this a lot earlier, so there's some slight modifications, but we are again swaying. So we do a little burn and we let it rotate a little bit, and then I just go, you know what? No, we're actually we're going to be losing time now. So let's use the nuclear engine. That's what it's there for, and get it done. Now this nuclear engine gives us a huge amount of delta V. So technically, this craft could go to Minmus. It could go to the Mun. Maybe couldn't land, but it could definitely go there. So we could actually take our payloads almost everywhere. But anyway, you'll see we do our standard sort of burning horizontally. We've got a lot of energy in the actual orbit, but we need to basically get rid of that eccentricity. And so we're coming down, and we can see we start to get close to going to be in the atmosphere. And then I decide, you know what? Let's just open things up and fly around. We can actually get a nice simple low orbit there. I could have kept burning. And raised it up earlier, but I was actually preparing in case we actually needed to re-enter and I was going to have to dump the payload. So this is the heaviest payload that we will have for this little set of missions. So what we're actually going to do is use the shuttles to assemble something in orbit, not unlike the International Space Station and then the shuttle used that. However, unlike that, this is not going to be a space station. We have a space station. We've got Alpha Station. It may be a bit old in the tooth now, but it's still there and it's doing its thing. We have a crew on board, I think, of 2 Kerbals. No, this is going to be a craft that's going to take us to another planet. We've launched full craft before, but you know, I thought let's go to another planet, and it's gonna be a little different. This mission, shall we say? But we will see the proper full mission next episode. For now, we've actually got to assemble it, and we're just checking around. You'll notice one thing I did miss was I did not lock off the fuel tanks. So what we've actually been having is when we're burning the nuclear fuel and the whatnot, we've actually been taking liquid fuel out of our cargo. Now, that's my fault. I should have locked them. However, not a big problem. We can actually pump the fuel back into it. So we release it, we pull it out of the cargo bay, and it is in a semi-sensible orbit. It's pretty much, I think it's 100 kilometers up, and it's just going to stay there. We did a few burns just to make sure that it was there. I don't know if I've showed all of them, but it just, you know, once you're in orbit with a nuclear engine and you've got a lot of delta V, it's not a big problem. We position our payload. It's got a little probe core on it. It's got some antennae. It's got some solar panels and those engines. We put it on the normal orientation because we're going to bring something up to dock to it, and it's always useful to do that. And then we come back to the shuttle, which we want to actually bring back. Now, I would like to land near the KSC, if not on it. So I wait until I'm on the opposite side of the planet to KSC. I do a little burn with my nuclear engine to bring the periaps down in the atmosphere just above the KSC. Probably I need to practice this in all certainty. So we're coming down. and we're reheating. You can see we're coming over the desert now, so we've got the ocean after this, and then we've got the mountain range, and then KSC. So we're coming in over the desert, and we're down to what, 38, 37 kilometers, and I'm starting to think actually we're actually losing a lot of energy right now. I thought we were actually going into the ocean. We're not. We've got the second part of the little lip of the desert coming just up in front of us, so we're still not into the ocean before the KSC. We lose a lot of, and this was it. Instability returns at that sort of 20 to 25 kilometer range when you try and do something with the SAS. And we spin out and we take all of our energy out. Now, I don't think we'd have got close to KSC if we hadn't have done that. I think we'd still be over the ocean, but it actually put us over the desert, and we have some engines, yep, so we could fly back if we needed to, but it's a long way. So for your sanity and mine, I am not going to make you watch it all in real time. This did take quite a bit of time to get back. We let the altitude drop a little bit as we were going, but we're going to speed up time just nine times the normal speed. Just let the time just fly by there. We let the engines drop down a little bit, play around with the engines a little bit, and as with anything, if you're doing something like this, you can actually just use these opportunities just to play around with the craft. So we're going at 9 times plus 3 times normal speed, so we're doing 27 times real speed right now because we're trying to get through. We're going through some clouds. It's actually turned night because it's so dark. I actually paused the game at one point because I need to go and have a bit of a break because this took a while, and then I decided, you know what, we're not flying on, we're not going to the mountains, we're not doing anything like that, we're just going to land this thing. So we come to the nearest coast and it looks flat, landing gear are down, we just let it fly in. We're just gonna edge it out, and again we want a nice soft landing. We've got Jeb and his partner in the crime there, who's been along to just make sure the cargo gets where it's supposed to go, because Jeb could just dump it and go for a joyride. And they're just going to come in nice and easy, landing nice and slow. We got a little bit of feathering. We just tilted the nose up, and there we go. I actually didn't, when I was doing this, I didn't realise we'd actually landed because it was quite a gentle landing. This is sped up a little bit, not much though. And we landed, and it was a nice little landing. So my view here is, brakes are on. We could recover this craft and we can reuse it, which is great. The great thing about the shuttle idea is you can reuse them. So let's reuse it, I think. So here is the same craft, and this time we've got a few more people on board. However, they're not in the cockpit with Jeb. I've increased some of the little Separatrons. You can see on the left hand side there's a lot more stuff there. It's showing up. I put some extra Separatrons on just because I noticed at the end of our separation of the last craft that actually that yellow fuel tank did get a little bit close to us as it was spinning round. So yeah, this is a nice fast ascent. We do a little spin round again, as we seem to be the symbol for this craft. It likes to spin when it gets up into the top of the atmosphere. We get above the atmosphere about 100 kilometers up, and I'm just working this now. I'm just trying to get as much. You can see I'm doing a lot of manual control on this one. We've stopped using SAS quite as much, so it's on, but I've actually got my fingers on the keys, and I'm actually just controlling it ever so gently so we can get as much energy out of this external fuel tank as possible. I've got the nuclear engine on. We've got the fuel tank's engines on as well. Yeah, there's not much left in it, but we start to turn and that's it. We let it go. We're done. I think I might even try and get another burn out of it, but there's almost no fuel left on it, and I'm actually debating at that point, is it worth the hassle of doing this? Because I know the nuclear engine will be able to finish off what we're doing. So we do a little bit of burn, but actually in the end, just get rid of it because we start to do a little bit of side turning. So it's gone. That's not particularly, I don't think the Separatrons have really worked as well there as they could have. We face forward again, get the nuclear engine on, and start burn upwards because we're starting to come down a little bit. Now, we've got a lot of energy in this orbit, so I'm not too worried about it. And actually, you see the screen there flicked because we got a nice pair apps there. And now it's just about rendezvousing with the the part of craft that we brought up last time. So that was the drive unit for what I'm calling the Red Horizon. That's our drive unit. And then with this nuclear engine, it's actually really easy to do this sort of rendezvous situation. You know, we do have RCS on board. Could do with being rebalanced a little bit, but I actually try and do most of this rendezvous with the nuclear engine because we have bucket loads of Delta V with it. It's you know, it's easy. I could probably actually put some liquid fueled like RCS ports on there, some of the bigger ones, but they are quite new to me again. It's one of those things that they weren't around 5 years ago when I played this, or they just come out at that point. So it's a newish thing for me. So we play around with our rendezvous now. This takes quite a while. Not with fiddling, but actually with the rendezvous timing. So we've got up into an orbit, and I think it takes, you know, maybe a Kerbin day to actually rendezvous, because we're going to let ourselves just move up close and close and close. And I want to try and get this initial rendezvous point to be as good as possible, because I'm not sure just how nimble this space shuttle is. This is the first rendezvous we've actually done with the shuttle, with the Pilgrim. The Pilgrim, that's what we're calling it, the Pilgrim I. Still using its very large cargo bay there. We're using it to its full effect. I think I don't think we could actually put fuel tanks that would take all that space up, but I think pretty much anything else we can actually, anything that goes in there we can lift. So we do that. We've done our burn. We're now coming up, and you can see that we're going to have a nice intercept there. And I'm looking around for our target. There we are, just on the horizon, up to the north there. You can see it highlighted. We're going to let it get closer. We're going to start firing the nuclear engine just to equal out our speed with it. And then we just do the standard burn towards, turn around. And that burn was quite... I actually stopped halfway through it because it was a bit of a... like, oh, I'll put a couple of meters per second in. With this nuclear engine, I would actually be better off putting a lot of energy into that rendezvous and then doing it, because turning around this craft is quite time consuming. Also, pulsing your nuclear engine is probably not the best idea, but we did that. So we go into normal position. We decouple our payload. We don't have a robotic arm on this. We're not going to dock it while it's attached to the shuttle. The shuttle is not maneuverable enough for that. I think I'd have to evolve it a little bit for that. And then I get lazy and I just go, you know what, just get each of them to point towards each other. And they do a little bit of that chasing round as they go and face each other. But we just push them together. They do a wobble and they're done. And then we can reposition them back into the normal. You can see this additional part has got some docking ports on it on the side. I have a few ideas for this craft and for its purpose. It's quite multi-purpose actually. That's something I was trying to develop, was something that I could use in multiple ways. Anyway, it's now time to return our shuttle to the ground, because you know it's its second mission now. We've still got more parts we need to bring up, so we definitely need to bring up at least one more part, because we've got what looks like we've got the drive unit, we've got the sort of docking component and so forth, and the science unit there with the scientists that we've actually, and we should point this out, they've actually been left in there. Some of the scientists are still in there, I think. But we're now going to we're gonna bring this craft back down. And oh no, we bring our scientists with us. Actually, it's the next trip that we actually leave the scientists up there. So, and this, I've actually put the periaps for this one further round the orbit, so it's actually well in the ocean after the Kerbal Space Center, with the intent that I can actually try and land at least somewhere near Kerbal Space Center. Our landing last time was really nice. I feel really positive about it, and so I'm feeling quite confident. So we come through the atmosphere, and you can see I'm pointing downwards because I'm scared I'm going to overshoot. So by pointing downwards, I'm actually pushing myself down into the atmosphere quicker. I'm going to get much more heating, but it's actually going to slow me down quicker. It's going to shorten my run to the KSC, because I'm aware when those mountains appear, I'm likely to overshoot. And see, because I've been pushing myself down the atmosphere, I start to get a bit of overheating, so I level out, let things cool down. I do a little bit of turning. These little turns just take a little bit of heat energy out of it. Not much. I could have done much more drastic turns. This is a much nicer, smoother glide in than previously. See, the craft is actually performing reasonably well at this point. So we didn't do a flat spin dive and do anything like that. And I think to myself, yeah, I can land this. I'm feeling really positive about this. I could have put the engines on and lifted up and tried to land on the runway. I didn't, which is going to be a bit of a regret. So I'm ready with the brakes. I've got the RCS going, and yeah, our horizontal speed was a little bit too much. So Pilgrim 1 is landed, but I'm not sure it's going to be flying again anytime soon. We've got the craft, the crew's alive, they can get out. However, it doesn't have any wings anymore, which for a shuttle would be a problem. We could launch it as a standard craft, just stick it on top of a rocket, but I think Jeb, not particularly impressed with the landing there. Again, yeah. So this is the Pilgrim II. We've modified it a bit. Not much though. What we've actually done is this is the Pilgrim II, which is a slightly shorter shuttle. If you actually compare it to the Pilgrim 1, we've actually taken one section of the cargo bay away, and it's on the same launch vehicle. It's the same launch profile as previously. It's just a shorter shuttle. And this mission was always planned to be in a shorter shuttle. I just would have liked to have the Pilgrim 1 in the workshop, as it were, ready, but yeah. So Pilgrim 2, much smaller. Looks actually from the side looks much more like the NASA shuttle because of its proportions. Pilgrim 1 much longer. So again, we just we open up our cargo bay just as we're in space, as it were, out of the atmosphere. We got this one really easily actually got into orbit. There was no fighting with it. There was no having it burn upwards. It just went up beautifully. I've cut out the rendezvous component where I was fiddling around, but we come in pretty much the same thing. It took about a day to get a rendezvous because of just orbital positions. Again, we're pretty much equatorial at the moment, so there's no major plane changes needed. There was some work done, but with a nuclear engine, you don't really have to worry about any of that. So we do our plane change. We do our coming in for rendezvous. You can see the red horizon is a big craft now. It's actually visible from some distance away. And so we're just moving in, and previously the shuttle was the larger of the two sort of craft, but now you can actually see it is starting to look smaller, shall we say. It doesn't help that this Pilgrim II is a much shorter shuttle. It is delivering in its cargo bay there. You'll see it's actually got its sort of command pod at the top there, a cupola, so they can see what's going on, and it's got some other odd structure there which we're gonna talk about. It's a lot of girders and docking ports pointing out sideways, isn't it? So we fold away some of the docking ports on the other craft, and we come in, and this is, it's the standard. This is actually a lazy man's docking. It wasn't a great docking. You see the craft got a bit of wobble though, and that worries me for long term. The Pilgrim II does its return burn. You can see it has left a crew up on the red horizon now. So it's actually left two scientists. The ones from the last time are back up there. They've got two scientists up there, along with, you'll see. Jeb is on his own on the mission now. We don't trust him re-entering with anybody else on board because he almost killed everybody last time. He does his re-entry burn there, and it's a nice little beauty shot there of the red horizon going past. And he's just going to do a little re-entry. Now, we're going to use pretty much the same sort of location we came up with last time. We're going to aim for that height of, I think it was about 35 kilometers over the ocean past the KSC. And we're going to come down, and I think this burn was, I do a little save there because I am acutely aware of the fact that Jeb almost killed everybody last time. However, probably, I'm not even going to talk about hindsight. So we come in, you can see we're coming over the desert, and we're about 40. Now we know that one of the previous craft, when it was down at about 35 kilometers coming over the desert, it lost a lot of speed very quickly. So we're going to see has this sort of refinement of the craft, of it shortening its size. Is it, we've got RCS on there that we didn't have originally on, and we've rebalanced it. Is it actually doing better? Yes, it is. We're able to go through the atmosphere pretty consistently, actually. This is our second craft that's come down in pretty nicely controlled manner. although we had an issue with the landing of the Pilgrim I, it actually re-entered reasonably nicely. Now, Pilgrim II overshoots. I should have put the nose down like we did with the Pilgrim I's return. I did not. So we're going to have to put the engines on, and we have to turn around. And luckily, we've got the cross-range capability to actually do this. We can actually don't have to dunk in the water. We can switch the engines on. Wham bam, off we go, full power. We're going to head back to KSC. We're going to ramp up the speed, so we're actually going now at 16 times normal speed. We're going really fast in both ways. You can see the KSC there has a lot of stuff around it. We've got the remnants of one of our test planes, in fact, which I've been targeting. And then we slow down for the landing. So what I would say is, I think the big thing I have learned about landing with these shuttles is you have to keep the vertical speed. There we go. The vertical speed from climbing. What we actually did was we stalled. In both landings, both of the last two landings, we basically stalled as we came into land, and that dropped the craft down. Now, Jeb has survived again, and I suppose we've now got a cockpit that we can reuse and a landing gear. However, shuttles should be reusable, so we definitely need to, work on that in the future should we do this. However, from me, have a great one for now.